Erosion Lab at DevOps Belgium 2024. Well, we are starting to wind down a little bit. It's kind of the end of the last day. We still have amazing guests. And one of them is Boni García. Welcome.
Thank you.
And so, Boni, one of the aspects of developer productivity, and in Build Erosion Lab we're all about developer productivity, is how do we test our code productively? Because writing code is one thing, but checking that it really works, especially in the right environment, is a completely different saga. And traditionally, it was hard to do it productively, right? There was separate teams that we handed over our code, and they would do the testing, and they would come back to us, and it's take time, disruptive, and what's not. And then it was like, hey, let's do testing environments, and the testing environments provisioning is expensive and slow, and what's not. So we're always on the lookout of the way of how to automate and make the testing better and bring it into our development environment. And I think Selenium is one of the most important tools out there to do so.
Yep. Yeah, I think so. Testing it for me, it's not only separate from development. I mean, this separation of testers and developers, I believe, is not true anymore. In my opinion, testers should also make tests, right? They can be a different team for QA, also for testing as well. But yeah, I believe we are in the same boat. We are creating software for end users, and we need to ensure that what we are doing is right. So yeah, testing for me it's a must. I cannot conceive creating software without tests. There are people that sometimes I talk to people that they say, I don't do tests unless I was paid for that. Someone is paying for me. But for me, having no tests is like very crazy, right? I have confidence in something that is not test at all. So yeah, I believe that nowadays testing is a must, and there are different tools, there are different libraries, there are different approaches we can use. And yeah, my expertise somehow is Selenium, right? But Selenium itself is not a testing framework. It's a browser automation library, but of course can be used especially for testing, right?
Yeah, so obviously automation library, this is all about automating stuff. And then the reason, the point in which we need the automation library is when we need to automate our testing. So I guess they are, maybe it's not per se a testing tool, but correct me if I'm wrong, I think Selenium is mostly used for testing.
Yeah, most, exactly.
And it's actually, it makes perfect sense because this is how you want to automate it. So in the end of the day, what are we talking about? Is it the robot that clicks buttons on the UI and checks that the buttons do what they're supposed to do?
Yeah, Selenium that's like that. It allows to automate web browsers. So that can be especially interesting for end-to-end testing, right? It's not the only use case. You can use it for web scraping, for example. But yes, we use Selenium most of the time for ensuring that my web application is doing as expected. So click here, interact with my web form, and yeah, check that everything is as supposed to be. And yeah, having a good suite of tests, end-to-end tests, for me, it's having some trust in your system, right? That's a collection of tests that you run all the time. When you commit a new feature, when you made a new commit, and when you nightly, there are different approaches, but yeah, you need that. You need that to ensure that your test is doing as expected, and you are not breaking things during development. So yeah.
Absolutely. So can you provide me with a couple of tips of how to use Selenium the most effectively?
Well, that's a difficult question, I would say. Well, first is creating actual tests, meaning that you need a unit testing framework. You need to combine Selenium with other tools, right? To create tests, first you need to select a unit testing framework. Imagine this is a Java conference, so most of people would know JUnit, SNG. So first you select the unit testing framework. Then, of course, you use Selenium for automating the browser. Maybe you can use a library for assertions. I like AssertJ, for example, which it provides a convenient way to create assertions. Of course, you are going to need a CI server to run the tests at a given moment. maybe reporting tools. So you need to combine everything, right? And you need to specify which scenarios you need to cover with the Selenium test, right? You need to define what are the most relevant features that your user needs to do to do automatically with Selenium. So combining it together, you will have Selenium tests that I highly recommend you to have, especially for production applications.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And so when we use Selenium, I guess maybe I'm wrong, but I would say the tests that are run with Selenium, the UI tests, are prone to be more fragile than the backend tests.
Yeah, that's a problem that Selenium users face many times, the flakiness of the test, right? Well, that's an interesting question because my opinion is that when there is a test which is flaky, I believe the problem is in the test itself, right? Because if you implement correctly the test is supposed to be solid, right? So why?
So what would be like your tips on how to prevent flakiness in Selenium tests?
Yeah, most of the time it's related to weights. You need to use a strategy for weighting properly to elements, because maybe you run a test and pass a time, but if the element you are locating, let's say it's lasting for milliseconds, right, or even seconds, your test is going to fail. So you need to select a weight strategy proper for your test. And also very important, you need to select to make good locators, because in Selenium we need different strategies to locate elements, right? And you need to create the proper locator each time to be solid and not to be flaky. So each time you have a test that fails once and runs 5, let's say, you need to review your own code, because maybe you are not doing the good choices for weight strategies or locating.
That makes perfect sense. Boni, thank you very much. That was very interesting and insightful.
Okay, thank you very much.
And you folks, stay tuned for more episodes of Build Propulsion Lab at DevOps Belgium 2024. Actually, you have one left. So this is, it's coming right up.